talk to us, or are we
No,
just
we're just
talk
gonna
to
sit
them?
here and talk.
Okay. All right.
How's it going?
Well, it's all right.
Yeah.
Thanks. Hey, what about you?
I've been good. Yeah, I've been doing some Instagramming. Yeah. So I'm living a really full life.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I can tell from your Instagram. Squish, what are you doing? Why are you standing there? Oh, okay.
Ladies and gentlemen,
Are
that's
you doing
Squish.
your errands?
Squish. Yeah.
Okay, but
All right, we
seriously,
should get
what's
this started.
happening?
We should get this started. What is this panel called? This is just writer versus actor.
That's all it's called? So we're just supposed to talk?
I guess we're supposed to fight.
Brony Fan Fair pits Peter New and Natasha Levinger against each other in a battle of wits and glory. Questions will be asked. Answers will be given. Comedy might happen.
Comedy might happen.
I think we should get that guy back up here.
Yeah. Thank you for that. That's helpful.
I feel like you should change it to comedy will happen.
Comedy will happen.
Comedy has happened. Don't expect it anymore.
There's no more comedy coming. That's it. If you didn't like that comedy.
Serious time now.
That's right. So, I don't know. I mean,
Well, it said questions will be asked.
questions will be
I
asked.
like questions asked.
I like questions asked too.
Who's asking these questions? Uh-oh. Do you want us to dance? We've been singing medleys.
Mortal Kombat, okay. So, I mean, this is
There's
a
no
bad...
microphone for them to ask questions.
No.
Pretty sure we can get loud enough.
Okay.
Yeah, we can all hear. Who's got a question? Yes.
Okay.
Okay, so I don't know if you answered this earlier.
Doesn't matter.
I've heard of a documentary. I haven't seen it. It's called I Know That Voice. I think Tara Strong was in it, and she was saying, there's much more than just reading lines off a piece of paper when you're a voice actor, obviously.
Yep.
What else do you have to consider other than memorizing your lines? Probably understanding the scene you're in. What else do you have to consider when you're voice acting?
Well, creating a character with your voice is not just about putting a silly voice on and then saying the words. You actually have to create a personality for your character.
It's just like regular acting.
Just like regular acting, but you put a regular act through a silly voice in a way.
Is it written for you, or?
It is written, yeah. Natasha writes it. Sometimes.
I'm the only person that
The only
writes your
writer in the
material.
show. She is M.A. Larson, actually.
Shh, no one's supposed to know.
Yeah.
I didn't hear that.
You have
I
to.
am a witch.
A lot of people, as they approach voice acting, do want to just do silly voices and have that be
See what happens.
enough. But it really isn't. When you record the session, we often only get the scripts a day or two ahead of the session. So you don't bother memorizing. We just have music stands that have the scripts on them. And then you really only get a few takes on the line. So it's important to read it ahead of time to know what you want, out of the other characters in the scene, to make decisions about how you want to get those things from the other characters in the scene. These are basic acting techniques that you would use in any situation. And that's essentially that. Then the other thing to sort of connect with is that in most acting you're connecting through the eyes with your scene partner, but in voice acting it's through the ears. That's sort of it. Isn't it? But that's how you do it. You have to connect with your scene partner. When we're talking, we connect through the eyes. We're looking at each other and we connect, right? I know. But as you're playing a scene, your eyes need to be on your script because you need to be following that because you haven't memorized it. So you need to be following that with your eyes, and you're wearing headphones. So the voice of the other character comes into your ears, and you connect with the voice of the person. That's all I mean by connect through the ears. I don't mean like some weird snake that James Cameron might create with ILM's help. Yeah.
It's confusing.
I do plan on it somewhere later in the panel. Oh, it's now.
You're gonna be a lot more fun than I am.
You're not fun though. You just have a wonderful world.
Oh. I didn't get that. I was gonna explain it and then I decided not to. Because I'm not that fun. That's a lie.
Yeah. You're super fun. You pick the next person.
Okay, I'll pick you for Peter's question.
I was just curious, when you're writing, do you ever bring the actors in on voicers to ever figure out, like, I'm doing this scene, do you have any opinions or something like that?
That would be nice if I could do that. Just call them up in my home, bring them in. But no, that does not happen. Also, he
You
lives
can
in
call me up.
Canada.
You can
You
call
will
me.
fly out?
Well, you could call me up.
Oh, okay. And you can be in my ear?
Yeah.
I mean,
Connect with me in your ear. Yes.
I could be like a voice actor, like you. Hopefully, as a writer, I can hear their voices in my head, so I don't need him there. But I didn't mean to make fun of your question. Hope you. Okay.
I had two. You should have two.
Okay. Yes, you. Sorry.
What's your favorite episode that you wrote?
Honestly, my favorite episode that I wrote hasn't aired yet. It's in the next season.
No, nobody in here is gonna tell, especially not the camera.
Just tell us which one in the order it's going to be. Is it going to be like the fourth?
I have no idea what order. They don't tell me. Wow, I've never been in such demand. What?
Did you give it a title?
I can't. I actually asked before I came here if I could give a little hint because I actually love both of them. And they checked with PR and they said, no, I cannot tell anything.
You wrote it too.
I did, yes.
Oh, you just revealed that you wrote two.
Sorry.
Yes.
Forget what you heard.
You didn't see anything.
In that pink there, yeah.
Has there ever been a character that you wish you could have voiced for but can't?
Yeah, I mean, anytime any of the other male actors get a job, I'm jealous. So, really, it's all of them. I wish I could have done Flim or Flam. That would have been really fun.
You make a great fancy man.
Yeah, thank you. I did. What was the name of that guy? It wasn't Hoity Toity or something. Somebody back in the first season. Jet Set. Yeah, I sort of wish there was more from him. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, you. That's right.
Bye.
I've read a lot of books, and I actually picture the voices I actually listen in my head, but the big thing, I can't really find an actor who would do that, so I have to picture it in my head just to figure it out. Has that ever happened when you read, but you just can't find it?
Do you mean for a part that I'm being asked to play?
No.
Or just like if I'm reading a book?
Yes, reading a book.
I have a pretty good imagination. I guess I managed to create an image for whoever I'm reading about, I guess. How about you? Do you have trouble creating?
No, I haven't. You may be more imaginative than we are.
Maybe.
'Cause I haven't even thought about it. I think maybe I just hear my own voice. I don't
Yeah,
think
maybe
I
it's
come
just-
up with new voices.
It's just me and Natasha in every book I read.
I sometimes call Peter over to my house when I'm reading a book.
Yeah.
Have him read it to
And I
me.
fly. Your turn.
My turn.
Your turn.
Yeah.
Is there any merchandise that you would like to get? Like, is anything that hasn't been done that you haven't seen or anything like that? Do you want it?
Peter does.
No one's ever made a plushie of me. I've seen Big Mac plushies, but never any.
Really? Do you have them?
Never. Yeah, I've got tons of them.
But there's no Peter New one.
There's no Peter New plushie. I would love to see like a loud shirt and a hat. And
Information, and I'm sure they won't even start. By the end of the day,
I know, right? This is why I say this out loud. You?
Pay an extra $5 and you get a free microphone.
Do I?
You want another one?
What?
What?
Go ahead.
Okay. with the pink wig.
Okay. This question is for both of you.
Okay.
What is your favorite part of the show?
Favorite part of the show.
That's a really hard question.
Yeah, it is a hard question.
I think my favorite part of the show is the message ultimately.
Oh, I was gonna say that.
Well, it's okay. We can have the same favorite. We don't have to fight about everything just because.
It just said verses.
It said verses, but we can agree on sentence like regular politicians. What my opponent says is absolutely true. However, yeah, I mean, I think the message of the show is really great. Like, I really do try to get along with people, respect other people, respect other opinions, and include other people and other opinions.
I haven't witnessed that, but okay.
Well, I know I'm not very good at it. I just
okay.
I try.
I'm just kidding.
No, I'm awful.
But yeah, I would agree with that. I think that I was gonna say the feeling, but you can go with message if you want.
I just don't believe in feelings.
Oh, I got that.
I do. Stop. It's a joke.
Did you have a question before?
Well, it was kind of going back a couple questions ago about the voices in which you write, and is that ever an issue? Do you ever start writing something and have an idea of where you want the story to develop, and then catch yourself? It's like, no, that's not really in this character's voice. Does it ever become a problem, or
Usually that stopped pretty early before we get to the script writing. Like, if something was out of character, it wouldn't probably get past the premise.
Alright, for both y'all, what would you say would be the hardest thing for voice acting or?
The hardest thing, I guess it's when a story isn't going well, and it's, maybe as you're in the middle of it, you realize that it's not working, and usually you keep trying to make it work and work and work, and then you realize it's not, and you have to abandon it. That's, for me, the hardest part.
I disagree.
Oh, crap.
I think the hardest part.
Let me answer you. The hardest part
Okay.
of voice acting.
I want to hear this. Let me see if it's right.
Okay. So when you realize the character isn't working, and you keep trying. Is that it?
No. No, not really. No. The hardest part of voice acting is for me, I think, when you can kind of fall off, and you're trying to do a good job, and you're trying to get the job right. But the hardest part is when you're getting notes that steer you in a direction that you don't quite understand or quite agree with, and you still have to represent the character the way that the directors imagine it. Sometimes the way that you imagine it and the way the directors imagine it is really different. And so that's the hardest part, is trying to mesh what you have to do with their vision of it, because it can't always be my vision. That's the hardest part for me.
You're saying you hate the directors. Is what
I
you're
hate those
saying.
guys. They're so not talented.
No.
They're bad at drawing
Yeah.
and talking. Big Jim Miller especially. Can we put this online?
Yeah.
That guy.
That we don't like him.
Don't like Jim Miller. Can we tweet him with
He's
that?
the worst.
Yeah, thank you. He's
What's the
just.
hardest part about writing?
Oh, I have to say the hardest part about the hardest part about writing is when the producer's idea of the episode and your idea of the episode are not the same idea, and you just have to change to the producer's idea.
That may not be wrong, actually.
I know. Over here.
Yes. Small child.
How do you
How
write
do you
episodes?
right? You mean how do you come up with the idea, maybe?
Drew.
Okay, it's a big question, but Usually what happens is I come up with my own, like I come up with about 5 ideas and then we all meet together in a big room and we throw those ideas up on the wall and then we figure out which ones work with the season, and we go from there. But the initial ideas just come from imagination. Imagination
is the thing that you got. Imagination. Is that what you're going? Okay. You pick the next one.
Okay. Yes, you with the, I'm not sure what's on your head.
Goggles?
Goggles, thank you, that's the word.
Do you ever find yourself talking in character, just like a day-to-day speech?
I think he's talking to you.
I was curious for your answer.
I weirdly find myself talking in your character.
Do you?
I do. I'm like, ooh, this is weird. What's
Does that
happening?
actually happen to you?
No, he's
No.
actually talking.
I didn't think so.
Actually, it's just your voice, not your character.
It comes out of your mouth.
Yeah.
All of a sudden, can I buy this toothpaste, please?
It's your regular voice.
Yeah. Oh, my regular voice.
Yeah, your regular voice.
Oh, so you're talking the
In
your
your
new
new,
character.
yeah.
That's even weird. I don't actually. I just, yeah, I don't. That's the end of that. I occasionally will say, yup, but not really as Big Macintosh. I'll just kind of find myself saying that.
You sometimes say yup? Is
Sometimes
that what you're saying? Sometimes you answer people yup?
Yup. With the hooray. Yes, you. Yes, you.
Okay, going kind of back to the Peter View plushie thing.
Oh, yes, please.
I'm bringing this up because you brought something similar up in Nightmare Nights. Is that, did anyone get on that magic 8-ball that you wanted?
I received 2. Yeah.
All signs
So
point
much.
to yes.
I love this fandom. Are you kidding? Yes, that happened.
That means I have to think of something I want.
Time to say action figure.
Yeah, I would rather have a plushie of myself.
I'm trying to get new people, and then I will come back to people who've asked questions.
Is there like a world or a fandom or something that you'd like to write for or voice act for that you haven't? Like your sort of dream, I'd like to do an episode of this.
It would be Doctor Who for me.
I guess not, because I don't have a quick answer for that. Yeah, sorry, it's boring. The shows I love, I love a lot of dramas, and I like to write comedy, so.
Write a drama.
Yeah.
Does it really work?
Yeah. Well, actually, Parenthood, I love that show, but I guess I don't want that job, so I don't want the hours of working on a regular show. So I've taken that thought out of my head. But yeah, there's a lot of shows I love.
For the kids in the room who are interested in what you do, what is your educational background, your experience?
For the kids in the room, I would say, look, get yourself acting. If you're interested in acting, become an actor now, because you can. You don't require a particular skill set to be an actor. You just need to be connected to yourself and to be yourself. But that having been said, to be an actor, and I think particularly to be a voice actor, I think you need to be really very well connected to the world at large. Because a lot of the time you're getting a note, which is a reference to I got a note yesterday about a character I was auditioning for, the other day, when I was still at home in Vancouver, in the studio on Wednesday, which feels like yesterday. Ramble. I got a note saying, do him like whatever character from Jaws, because they just assume that you've seen Jaws. I haven't actually ever seen Jaws.
That's a mistake.
I know, right? I haven't seen The Breakfast Club either. What do you think? I know, shriek.
That's very upsetting.
It wasn't like neither of those things is a decision. It was just like, that's just kind of how it went.
Well, you can decide now to change that.
I can decide right now. See you later, panel. I'm going to watch The Breakfast Club and Jaws. Double bill.
They would understand.
But, you know, they give you this reference and they expect you to understand it. And you have to be able to react to that, at least enough to be able to interpret, well, what do you want from that? So there has to be that kind of connection to pop culture. There has to be a connection to history. There is a lot of improvisation sometimes, not necessarily in these shows that we're doing, but a lot of the time there will be a lot of improvisation. And so you need to be able to connect ideas from one thing, like say pop culture, to another thing like history. So any kind of, just constantly be educating yourself. That's one thing. That's one side of it. The other side is to understand what you need in terms of technique, and that is, how do you place a voice? How do you breathe? Stuff like that you need to learn. If you find yourself in an acting class which is telling you, okay, we all need to pretend now to be a clock. Get out of that class, because that teacher does not know what they're talking about.
They do that in kids' acting classes a lot, though. So I wouldn't give that advice, because then they're not going to be in any classes.
I think they do this to get the kids out of their little bubble.
Yeah.
To just
Yeah,
get kids to act
okay,
out.
maybe that's true. Maybe as you get older, though, as I've been in that class when I'm an adult, and that's nonsense.
Yeah.
But as a kid, you know, okay, so you just keep pretending, really. But in terms of actually succeeding, you need technique, and that is more important ultimately. So the ability to pretend combined with the ability to actually do it.
What about as a writer? What is your background?
I don't have a degree in writing. I just wrote all the time since I was very little, and I think that's always my advice. Just write all the time as much as you can, and you always get better. And I mean, there's books that you can read, and I have taken classes that have been helpful just as far as structure goes. But the most I've learned is just from writing more and more. And it's also helpful career-wise, because then when you do meet someone who you can give your work to, you have a wide range to give them. And also, I thought very early on, I was like, I'm ready to do this, and then I look back at the stuff I wrote back then, and it was not up to snuff. And so, yeah, the more you write, the better you get, just like with anything.
I have to agree with my colleague. That's essentially what I'm getting at too with acting.
Yeah.
You just have to do it. You have to remain open and keep at it.
It's like that 10,000 hours thing about mastering anything. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
For me, Ponies has changed a lot of my but some of my personality. Like, I'm more easygoing. Has it, when you discovered it or when you auditioned for it, has it changed you in any way from where you were before?
Ponies hasn't changed me, but bronies have.
What?
That's true. Because I didn't really watch the show. I auditioned for the show and then did the show and then forgot about the show. And it was really only when this happened, I realized I was approaching everything very cynically. And you know, when I first discovered bronies, I assumed it had to be facetious. It had to be sarcastic. There had to be it was just a bunch of guys going, I like Fluttershy. Do you like Fluttershy? Yeah! And when I found out that no, it was actually this really earnest fandom, I thought, this is remarkable. And it made me reflect on my own life that, yeah, I approach everything with this inherent cynicism that is unnecessary. And I'm skeptical, naturally, and that's, I think, remains. But skepticism and cynicism don't necessarily have to be the same thing. So you guys taught me not to be one thing.
A real jerk. Yeah. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So, I'm not sure if you guys are allowed to answer this, because it might be a question for future stuff, but you guys brought back T-Rex and Scorpion from the first generation of My Little Pony. I'm wondering, did you guys ever consider or will consider bringing back the sea ponies they had for the first season? I'm just curious.
I've heard Megan answer this before, and now I can't remember what she said. It was either no or I'm not saying. So I don't know.
I think that'd be cool to bring them back.
I want it.
No more shit out.
You want to see ponies?
Yes.
Yes.
Tell your boss that.
Do something about that song.
They want to see ponies.
They don't have to sing, because you changed the characters a little bit, but I just see ponies do that.
Okay, noted.
Now, in my opinion, if I was part of a crew, now this is your opinion. Do you have a good friendship with any of the crew members of the series?
No, they're all sort of lonesome. Yeah, I do. And actually, again, it's Brony's ultimately that helped to make that happen, to facilitate that. Because without these conventions, I sort of never socialized with anybody. I never would have met Natasha without the conventions.
It's true.
I never met Lauren Faust without a convention, Megan McCarthy without a convention, Mitch Larson without a convention. And even just, I've spent a lot of time with Andrea Lipman now, and we've become quite close because of conventions. In the studio, you sort of arrive and you're friendly, you do the job, and then you go home. But because of these things, we've become much closer. So yeah, it's been really nice.
I agree. No, I never would have met any of the Canadian people if it wasn't for this.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry. You both thought we were.
Oh, sorry, go ahead.
Do you have any crazy or funny stories you want to share?
In general, or about ponies? Crazy or funny stories?
I always find like I'm so on the spot with that question, right?
You've heard that before?
I've had, yeah. Please tell me the funniest thing that has ever happened ever.
Really?
Like,
Wow.
This one time I found a peanut. I'm sorry. I don't know what to say.
I
Yeah. Yes, that's right. I saw some really good sketch comedy this week. You should check out. That was really crazy and funny. I'm sorry. It's nothing springs to mind. I'm afraid. Yeah.
Oh.
I'm sorry.
No, sorry. You had asked before.
Oh yeah. You've been waiting a long time, so you're next. Okay.
I appreciate that.
Yeah.
I have a question tangential to the sea pony question. And
Uh-oh.
it's simply, you're in a unique position. Obviously, you meet the fans face to face. And you actually were making a joke about calling your boss. But because you're in a unique position, why do they not question you and ask, what perspective do you have from the fan perspective that they're looking for?
Well, they're here too, usually. I mean, so they hear perhaps more than I do anyway, for sure, from the fans. So they're very well aware.
Yeah, I think there is an awareness for sure that, for what the fans are interested in. Sometimes what the fans are interested in is not appropriate, because the thing is, it still is a show for little girls, right?
No.
Little kids.
Little kids, anyway. And so they really are, I think, focused on that primarily, and a lot or some of what the adult audience wants is not appropriate. You can
Yeah, I
probably
mean,
speak better to that.
that is true. I said this yesterday at another panel, but I do think it has changed perhaps the sophistication level of the story arcs that may not have, I think that there's more intricacies and complexities in the stories that would not have been there if we weren't aware that there's an adult audience. But I think if Megan started listening to everything the fans are saying, I don't think it would be a good thing necessarily, because there are so many conflicting things and opinions, but there's definitely a respect there for sure.
For sure. I think ultimately too, whenever you're creating anything, you want to create it from the core group of people that are creating it. And if you start to listen to too many other suggestions from too many other sources, it just becomes muddied. And that makes writing it difficult. Because everybody in this room has a headcanon. And even if a lot of your headcanons agree, eventually they'll disagree. And so you just have to, I think, you have to kind of retreat to the creative core of the thing and say, well, these are the people who are really making the show, and whatever influences they can draw from are what is going to inspire them.
And there's also a lot of things going on that the fans don't know anything about. There's, you know, well, I'm saying like toy decision. And there's also like just general story arc things happening that fans don't know about that they have to pay attention to. So, you know, sea ponies may not fit into the storyline, let's say. So there's so many things going on that inform the stories.
And you have to remember also that like where you guys are here at the end of season 4 is not where the creative team is at. The creative team is already thinking ahead, possibly to, you know, you have to write scripts at least a year ahead of time. So whatever is inspiring you right now is a year behind what they're doing.
Yeah.
At least.
My first episodes I wrote didn't air for a year and a half, I think. So.
Yeah. And we record 8 months at the minimum.
Oh,
8
yeah.
months before it goes to camera, or it goes to screen. You were next.
Oh, yes.
How has the fandom base changed y'all's attitudes and approach towards the show?
I think you have to resist changing your approach to the show. You have to kind of go back to how do you approach your craft? You know, as an actor, you approach it with what do I want in the scene? What do I want from the other person in the scene? How do I get that thing? And what are the various ways I could get that thing? And
Yeah, it's the same thing. You can't let that, because you're just focused on the story, the characters. The craft.
The fandom isn't in the scene, right? So you can't, as an artist, you can't sort of say, well, I want to go for this, but the fandom would like. As soon as you do that, you're no longer Big Macintosh trying to get something out of Applejack. You're Peter New trying to please the fandom, and that doesn't serve the character.
And Big Jim would never allow
Big
that.
Jim would never allow that. I love Big Jim, really. He's an awesome guy.
I'm okay with him.
You've never met him, though, have you?
Yes, I have.
You never met him.
Okay. The cowboy hat.
So if you guys are so far ahead of what's aired, what season are you guys working on right now?
Am I allowed to say that?
I don't think you're allowed to say that.
Okay.
Unless,
I have written for season 5. I think, yeah.
You know season 5 is coming, right?
Yes.
I don't know what date.
Yeah, we don't know the date.
We don't either.
I usually find out a date from you.
I think it's December sometime.
All we know is they were
It's some.
All they've told us is in
Sometimes like it's been an
Okay, what season is the most advanced season that you've heard for sure is coming? 5. That's all we know too.
That is true.
Thank you for trying to say 9.
Yeah. Yeah.
I want to know, because I went back to time, did you ever think My Little Pony was going to get to this? Like, when it first came out, I knew a few people who watched it, and then it just exploded. There were people in class with backpacks, hats, wallets, keys, and then now we got the whole Brony thing.
No, I just said to somebody in an interview that I gave, if you had given me a list of all of the shows I would ever have worked on in my entire career and said, one of these things is going to be huge, which one? I absolutely would not have guessed this. It was the furthest thing from my mind when I did that audition.
What would you have guessed?
Well, Stargate, Fringe, and most of the sci-fi stuff that I've had a chance to be on, I would have thought, oh, well, maybe because I was a farmer in one episode of Stargate in season 9, maybe that might have somehow
Catapulted you to stardom.
catapulted me. Yeah, maybe J.J. Abrams would have seen that. And that farmer was awesome. The way he ate that corn.
He did notice that.
Yeah,
Sure.
probably. That's why I got the Fringe job.
Yeah.
Then I blew it.
Yeah, you did.
I know, I'm not going to be in Star Wars thanks to my appalling performance on Fringe.
You should leave this stage.
Bye.
Yes, blue ears.
I have a question for you. What was it like working with the cast on Stargate?
Lovely. It was lovely.
Was this with
Season 9.
Was it with Ben Ballard or Richard Dean Anderson?
Ben.
What was it like working
Fine, it was lovely. You know, I mean, I was there for a day, so you don't, it's not like you make friends, right? But everybody was really accommodating on that shoot, for sure.
So you're saying he would not be your friend?
He was not my friend. Friendship is magic. I wish Ben would have known that at the time. But it was pre-Pony, so he'd never had a chance really to learn the lessons of Rainbow Dash and Clan.
Too bad he was such a jerk to you. I'm sorry that happened.
No, he was. I really hated him, and he hated me.
Yeah, I'm just picking people.
I know. You go ahead.
Okay.
I'm happy that one of us is doing
Go ahead. Yeah.
This is for Peter Newt. How was your first iced Mexican mocha?
It was amazing. Have you seen my Vine?
I haven't, but somebody else in your
Check my Vine account, please, because you will have your answer. And then follow me on Vine.
Back there. Yes, you. Your horse is under the room. We have to take a picture.
It's totally my doppelganger.
What happened to Big Mac?
He's right there.
Out of all the
Shh. I'm listening to a question.
which one induces the most gray hairs?
Which one induces the most gray hairs of all the jobs I've ever done? Of both of us. Which is the most gray hair making job?
Being a parent.
Actually, I have to agree with my esteemed colleague.
And wrinkles.
In terms of professional work I've done,
Okay.
what was the hardest? I don't know. That's a tough question.
I mean, I can't think of anything harder than being a parent, so I'm not gonna
Yeah,
try.
fair enough. Some things are difficult. I've had difficult days on set, but mostly it's been a joy. So I don't know.
I'm gonna take a picture of this audience.
You've been waiting a really long time.
Yes.
Mitch Larson's art is expanded out into now we're starting to write regular books.
Why are we bringing him up? He's not here.
I know he's not here.
I'm just kidding. I'm kidding.
Sorry. He's just going. No, have you thought about doing something like that? Writing
Regular books? Yeah, I have. I've started some and abandoned them. Yeah, that's the answer to that. I think I may go back to it too. And I do all different kinds of writing. I'm starting to write for a mommy blog. And I write sketch and stuff like that. But yeah, that's the boring answer to that. You guys have asked questions already, is it?
This is for Natasha.
Yes.
In your opinion, who is best pony?
Oh, this question. I always answer this the same way. I love them all equally.
Do your parents have a special place?
But today is Big Mac. I will also say, as I've said before, it's easiest for me to write Pinkie Pie and Fluttershy. So
It's easier to write Pinkie Pie and Fluttershy than it is to write. Really?
I mean, I'm a complex person. Yeah, sometimes it's hard to come up with those yups. But I still love you the best. I mean, Big Mac. You can stop staring at me. I already said it was you. Okay. Anyone else have a question? Yes.
A question for you. The spin-off, sort of like YouTube things that are made.
You mean Equestrian Girls things, or?
Or like the digital shorts?
Yeah, so that fans kind of take control of storylines and from a fan perspective and things like that. As a writer, and sort of like from like a copyright standpoint, do you ever feel protective or like an owner ownership of that material, or have you learned to really relish that people are inspired by your point of view with your work and are flattered with it?
Well, it's not, I mean, because I'm just like one of many writers and I didn't create these characters, I don't feel ownership anyway. I just feel lucky I get to write them when I get to write them. I might feel differently if I was Lauren, I guess. But I think she probably would be flattered. I mean, if I did come up with them, I think I'd be flattered that people were inspired by them. And if I wrote a character that people were inspired by to write spin-offs of them, I think that'd be awesome. Unless they were making lots of money off it. Yes.
What's your favorite episode that you wrote in for the ones that the seasons that we have seen?
Of the seasons you have seen, it would be the Apples to the Core one, the Pinky Apple.
Do you know that bronies think that you're on the way to Alicornhood?
I think that's probably true. I don't know.
Brony spent a lot of time with him because
I'm basically a saint in real life.
Okay.
Because I watched this thing on YouTube where this OC says if there's going to be like any male alicorns, because so far we haven't seen it. And
That's probably going to be me.
she brought up that Big Macintosh is. She thought that Big Macintosh was probably not on his way to Alicorn. What do you say?
Not. I think that's just that's a red herring. I'm sure I'm going to be an alicorn. I'm convinced. I'm thinking season 9, because you guys know season 9 is happening, right? We're totes sure.
Big Mac is back.
Big Mac is back. And I think that's really, like, he basically, Twilight probably is, like, she gets drunk with power and tries to take over Equestria. And a new princess is needed to win the day and preserve equestrian stability in season 9. And Big Mac kind of is the one that rises up. And but that has to stay in this room, okay? Because that is seriously in the cone of silence. It's like a tree-shaped crown with a bunch of little apples that fall off when he gets mad, and then and then they shoot out with magic. They're like apple magic. And
there's just so many.
You were writing this episode.
Yeah, I mean, I'm so upset at everything you're revealing right now. It's terrible. Yes.
I don't know. Neon Lights is a background male alicorn, is that right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Rarity takes me in half.
Yeah. So there is one, and Big Mac needs to quash him.
Well, that's just an animation error. They also have one scene where Rarity has wings and a horn too, and she's doing the dance.
Well, there's no sad idea.
I can't believe that they spoiled Alicorn Rarity by mistake. So what? Spoiled? I didn't say anything. I'm just joking. I have no idea, really. Here's how it works for me. I get a script about 2 days before I record the script, and outside of that, I have no idea what's happening. So, season 7? Yeah, I don't know if that's happening. I don't know what happens in it. I have no concept. Give me 2 days before I record it. That's what I know.
We just did season 9.
Yeah. You.
With the hat? Who are you talking to? Oh.
The one that's talking, in the blue.
All right, settle
When
down.
you get the script, keep going. When you get the script, does it also include like the songs, like for apples to the core and things like that?
We get the songs separately, even though we record them at the same time. What happens is if I get a song like Apples to the Core, I'll come in, usually the dialogue recording starts at 2 o'clock, so I'll come in, depending on how much singing I have to do, I'll come in at 1:30 or 1 o'clock or something and record the song, and then the dialogue will follow. But I'll get the song materials from Daniel, and I'll get the script from DHX.
Okay, so they're two separate, you never get them as one, and you do them the same day?
Yeah.
Wow.
Okay, you in the hat back there.
Yeah.
So as writers and actors for the show, where do you personally feel like the success for the show comes from? Just seeing this room full of people, everybody has their own opinion, so from a behind the scenes perspective, like where do you think the success comes from?
I mean, it obviously has hit what's the right word? Nerve? Is that the right word? A chord, that's a better word. So, I mean, it feels like it's coming from all of you guys. Like, I mean, obviously we're creating a show, helping to create a show that is delivering a message, a feeling that is...
Magic.
Yeah. And, but it just seems like it's coming from everyone here who loves it.
Yeah, I don't know if there's anything. There are a lot of shows that try to present themselves as a show that says, you know, here's some great life lessons. But I have no idea what it is about this particular one.
I mean, if we did know, then we would be making a lot more other ones. I think
we would be making My Little Platypus right now.
Yeah, My Little Platypus, absolutely.
Yeah.
Sorry.
That's the only thing.
But they don't even do much.
Well, listen.
They swim around. My Little Platypus swims around, bringing messages of friendship.
Are they from Australia only?
Platypus, yeah.
No?
Yeah. Did you know that platypus actually is venomous?
No, I did not know
Yes,
that.
venomous.
It's from Australia. What else?
Then that would be really ironic if it was a big hit where they were spreading magic.
Spreading magic and poison. Death and magic. My little platypus.
You have to explain why they lay eggs to all the little kids.
I know. I thought you were a mammal. Oh, no, but I'm laying an egg because. Show's not a go.
You just killed it on your own.
Red light. Sorry, stop. Sorry about that, yeah. I'm sorry, can you just say a little bit louder?
You get the script, you said you get it really short notice. Do you ever like mess up the words? Like, do you ever switch around the words with your own words to make people laugh and then re-record it later?
Not on purpose, but that does happen sometimes.
Derpy Hooves or Ditsy Doo?
Who do you prefer?
What? Well, I like Derpy Hooves.
Yay!
What? Is Ditsy Doo the official name or something?
No, Ditsy Doo is the official name, but Derpy Hooves was the fandom name.
I like Derpy.
Oh, okay. I didn't know what that meant. Sorry.
The story.
Oh, I'm gonna plushie back there.
Whenever you are supposed to record a song, do you get the music with it beforehand so you know kind of how it's supposed to go?
Yeah,
Can you read music?
a little.
Do you like music?
No, it's awful. It's the worst thing. I hate music that ever got invented. Instruments should be burned.
Okay.
Yeah, the
I
most
just wanted to know.
I mean, yes. I mean, I like it.
Oh.
What?
Confused.
Discord got
What? Anyone else?
Yeah. Oh. The only one who has their hand up anymore.
Like, how you go to cons, you'll have panels and stuff. But do y'all ever have time to just like walk around and like buy merch or anything?
Yep. It's fun. I like to do that.
I hope you have fun.
Yeah, I do. Keep coming. Not me.
He will. He's lying. I'm not allowed to say anything about the future. Yes, sorry. Then, huh? The cowboy hat already asked a question, so I'm going with.
Can you sign this?
Of course, come to my autograph session, which is at whatever. What is the next autograph session?
Like
Right now. 4 o'clock? Yeah. Oh, we better wrap this up. Yeah. Okay, a couple more minutes. So 2 more questions. Yeah, you right
sorry,
there.
Pancakes or waffles?
Pancakes or waffles?
Pancakes for me.
I'm gonna go with waffles just today.
I have comments before.
In the episode where Trixie comes back to Ponyville, did you or Ashley Ball's voice the male aspect?
What's that episode called?
Magic Duel.
It's season
3.
That must have been Ashley. I don't think that was me. Or something might have been somebody else, but I don't think it was me.
It was me in a twist.
What a twist!
What's the coolest / strangest thing you've seen fan-made or entertained?
He's seen more than me.
Still waiting.
For me, it would be the horse that walked in earlier.
Gee, I don't know. Silver Slinger makes a lot of really cool stuff. I got a really cool, hourglass from Silver Slinger. Yeah.
What character is it more fun to play, Big Man or Sunil from
Ooh, Sunil. I'm sorry. Sunil is so much more fun.
He has more words.
He has way more words, and as an actor, that's a real pleasure. And also with Littlest Pet Shop, because there are so many guest players on Littlest Pet Shop, guest stars, they usually just hand those out to the existing cast, so I get a lot of those too, which is great for me.
What is, have you ever pranked another one of your coworkers?
No, I don't think they would fall for it. We're all pretty good at hearing each other.
Yes.
Who punishes you if you give out spoilers without their consent?
God punishes me. I get a call from above. Natasha, you did it.
Megan McCarthy comes to me personally. No.
Yes.
No, we don't get punished.
Well, I get punished.
You get punished?
Yeah. I mean, I'm not allowed to say, Megan, is my boss, and she
Yes,
tells me
my
not
boss.
to say things.
My boss is Jason and Jim, really. But I never feel punished.
Well, you don't say things you're not supposed to.
Well, then you should
That's
tell
what
him,
they're
and
saying.
then he can tell us, so he won't get
Yeah, and Hasbro.
Okay, last question. Yeah.
Discord Celestia or Discord and Fluttershy?
Why did I pick you? Somebody else, last question. Yes. Yeah.
What other works would you like to work on in the future?
I have no idea. Something hasn't been created yet. Something new. That's good. I gotta remember that. I have to. Don't tell anybody, but I really have to go to the toilet.
He has to go to the bathroom. I can't answer that question.
Thank you.
Guys.